Hello! I want to talk about DayZ. I've been playing a bunch of DayZ, and recently I was on Sakal. And man, the atmosphere on that map is insane. Even after all these years, Sakal completely pulled me in, and I was fully immersed for hours. In terms of environmental storytelling and visual map design, it's probably my favorite. I didn't think this level of detail was possible in DayZ, but here we are. This got me thinking, how does Chernarus hold up? So, in this video, I want to begin by looking at Chernarus' environmental storytelling. This includes map details, locations, and dynamic events. And then later, I'd like to look at the ambience on this map. You know, this map has been a work in progress for over 10 years. Is it obvious which parts are new? Does it feel cohesive? Is it now outdated? These are some questions I had and hope to answer. By the way, I'm not going to compare it to Sakal. I know Sakal inspired this video, but I'm genuinely interested in how Chernarus is doing. Also, real quick, I want to talk about environmental storytelling and ambience because I think they play a key role in shaping a map's atmosphere, which in turn enhances player immersion, something I think is vital in DayZ. Basically, these work along with these to create an ambience, which over time creates a mood, an atmosphere, which then leads to immersion. It's interesting, this map doesn't really have many distinct apocalyptic events tied to random buildings or locations, especially ones reflecting the aftermath, but it still feels alive. I remember playing the game for the first time and stumbling upon a summer camp. I could easily visualize what life might have been like there before the apocalypse. And this is because the map is extremely detailed. This map feels lived in, as if it was just another Tuesday before the world went to shit. Like there are so many small details I could point out. The forests themselves are insane and full of variety, but the locations and map layout do a ton of the heavy lifting. There are massive cities and rural towns that smoothly transition into dense forests, military bases, and old antique castles. And the list goes on and on. This map sells the post-Soviet Czech landscape exceptionally well. This map also unveils what happened here. If you look a little closer, the signs of collapse become clear. You can come across an old civilian hangar that's now repurposed as a medical containment center. All around the borders, you can find imposing military checkpoints that kept civilians from escaping. And in the heart of Chernarus lies a commercial airliner slammed directly into a hotel. There was chaos. You can still feel it. The screams, the panic, those final moments of fear. But it's silent now. Streets are abandoned, and the buildings are lifeless. The last thing standing are the infected. It's weird, you come across these infected and you'd expect more destruction. Yes, they are derpy, but they're still dangerous, especially together. Wouldn't you expect boarded up shops, burned down buildings, and streets covered in debris? Instead, the streets are clean, shops stand strong, and the damage is minimal. When comparing this world to other apocalyptic settings, Chernarus' feel is noticeably less extreme. Like a lot of the environment still feels oddly preserved, almost peaceful at times. You could definitely blame it on the limitations of technology when DayZ released, arguing that it wasn't possible to add more detail back then. But then why not do it now? I mean, I'd like for Chernarus to have more of an apocalyptic feel, but I've been thinking about this. How fast did this virus spread anyway? How dangerous is it? The thing is, we don't have concrete evidence on how Chernarus fell. There are a ton of videos that go into the lore and the history of Chernarus, and I'll link a couple of my favorite down below, but at the end of the day, we can only infer what happened. And to me, it's terrifying. What if, when Chernarus fell, it wasn't even a struggle? Chernarus fell, and it fell so fast that only a few understood what was happening. And even then, it was too late. The best example of environmental storytelling in DayZ is dynamic events. These are random occurrences that affect the map and offer a bit more insight into the state of the world. But on top of that, they also provide you with some rare loot. There are helicopter crashes, both Russian and American. You can search the tracks for dynamic trains full of abandoned cargo, and even stumble upon old military convoys. You could be chillin', looting a town, when all of a sudden you hear a piercing explosion. Is it an airstrike? What is going on? No, it's a creeping blanket of gas that slowly engulfs the town next to you. You feel the desperation behind these attacks. They're trying to stop the outbreak. But what if one hits the town you're in? You can't believe it. Containment is all that matters now, no matter the cost. These events, to me, are incredible for both gameplay and story, and their absence on Sakal is definitely felt. They're simply amazing, and I'll come back to them later, but now we gotta talk about DayZ's ambience has changed much over the years, with constant improvements to sound, lighting, weather, and textures. Earlier, I suggested the game lacks a complete apocalyptic look, being too clean visually. However, despite that, there are so many other elements that are executed nicely, which play directly into the ambience. Most of the game's ambience is achieved through its rich sound design, immersive lighting, weather, integral survival mechanics, and the ever-present AI. This includes zombies and animals. From the moment you spawn in, the clock's ticking, and it's up to you not to starve, dehydrate, or freeze to death. And if that's not enough, there are zombies and predators out there waiting. DayZ's environment is extremely unforgiving. It constantly surrounds you and silently guides you. Cities and towns are littered with infected, yet they're eerily still. If you venture out into the wilderness, the tone shifts. These areas stand apart from the cities, and they bring with them a new kind of life. Both the dense forests and massive fields are accompanied by a diverse range of wildlife. Both predator and prey roam the land, reacting to your presence. Through all this, your character's needs won't change, but their status will. And this all depends on your current altitude or the weather. The weather will change drastically from clear to stormy, and if you're caught in a storm, you're much more likely to catch a cold. Day will turn to night, and the Milky Way will loom over the countryside. Sparking a fire will, in real time, dynamically light up an area, bouncing off the walls of buildings, shine through open windows, and shimmer off the trees. Crickets chirp from the bushes, rivers flow, and soft instrumental tracks will fade in and out depending on your location and the time of day. With these advancements, DayZ is now more immersive than ever. A lot of the dynamic events are relatively new to DayZ, but in the past they've done complete overhauls of cities, towns, and military bases. The ambience has changed a ton too, but do all of these changes fit in? Yes, I think so. They've been consistent with their vision on this map, and focused on improvements rather than too many severe game changes. But this also brings up a bigger question. Does Chernarus hold up? Very serious stuff. So does he get 5 big booms or 1 small boom? Sorry. To me, the map works. It's massive but full of interesting locations, and the game's ambience is strong too. This includes gameplay. And the dynamic events? Mwah, give them a kiss. Conjoined, they deliver an epic sense of adventure. So yes, in 2025, Chernarus does hold up. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about I didn't talk much about the gameplay on Chernarus, and that's because at this point, I'm pretty happy with the survival mechanics. But if there's one element I'd like to see improved, it's the zombies. They sound great, they also look great, but I think they need a rework. I just don't know if it's possible in this state of DayZ. And don't get me wrong, they've improved them a ton, like they used to be way worse. But even now, the infected feel more like an annoyance than a threat. What if a bite from the infected had a chance to make you ill? Not in a terminal sort of way, but one that would hinder your survival. Now it's not just about avoiding cuts, but infection as well. then going unconscious or even getting swarmed would have greater consequence. I get that your character is immune, but a huge open wound would be the perfect justification to introduce other infections. Blurred vision, slowed movement, and aching limbs could be a starter. It would give them a little more edge and much needed respect. Maybe keep them the same, but add dynamic hordes that respond to sound around the map. They could spawn near dynamic events or cities. Imagine you slowly hear them approaching in the distance. You'd have to duck into a building or carefully sneak around them. If you wanted to balance it, you could reason that these infected are starving and they could barely jog due to them not having enough energy. They would be so cool and threatening at the same time. And then they could shake up PvP a little bit. All I know is the dynamic events are amazing. They've struck gold. These events tell you a little more about the world while also having a gameplay feature. They are absolutely worth exploring and improving upon. Just think about all the different directions they could go in. Like, imagine stumbling upon a boarded up building. Inside, you fight way through zombies to find dead survivors, maybe with a guaranteed rifle or medical supplies as a reward. What if you came across an abandoned survivor's base, complete with walls and watchtowers, just like the ones you'd make? It could be a nice way to get building supplies or even seeds. They also just introduced new keys. Maybe you could find a note that leads you to a specific building or room with a locker, and inside is a juicy reward. The devs need to make sure to keep these obscure though. The journey is finding loot, not having a bunch of loot in your face all the time. I think if they can keep them obscure, but have plenty of events and unique new ways to loot, it'll make every life feel fresh, and you're gonna be more engaged in the journey every time. This map and DayZ have stood the test of time. They've been strong for over a decade. And you know, after all these years, it's easy to overlook the details. To fall into the loop of spawn, loot, die, spawn, die, spawn, die. Spawn, die, spawn, die, spawn, die, spawn, die, spawn, die. Then start all over again on the coast. Maybe you even join that one deathmatch server and go ham. But in 2025, Chernarus still has the power to pull you in, to make you truly invest in your character. All it takes is one successful hunting trip, one scenic boat ride, a near-death experience, or one rare friendly encounter for this game to slowly, unaware to you, wrap you in its world once more. I get it, the real focus isn't supposed to be on the world itself, but on us, our survivors, and the journey we decide to take. DayZ throws you into a world where what you become is entirely up to you. You can play how you want. It's your story. And that's the beauty of DayZ. But, big but, I see the huge potential in environmental storytelling. It could improve both the gameplay and the game's narrative. Please! Please! I'm begging you! But what do you think? Also, do you think Chernarus holds up? And what's your favorite thing about Vanilla DayZ? Let me know down in the comments. But anyways, that's all I've got for today. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Thanks again, I'll see you next time.